Hello everyone, welcome to one more episode of Newspapers, Camilla and Caffè. Today we're going to read and comment together an article talking about a piece of news that has become more and more relevant internationally speaking, and that's a piece of news related to the decision, the plan of the Japanese government of dumping wastewater from the Fukushima nuclear plant into the ocean. So this piece of news has become worldwide news just a couple of weeks ago. And this article describes a little bit not only what the plan of the Japanese government is, but also the reasons why the protests around Asia broke out. This article was published on the 22nd of April, and you can find it on the news portal online, The Interpreter. Okay, so since we're talking about a future plan and we are not sure about what's going to happen, we're going to find in the article quite a few examples of use of modal verbs describing possibility and probability. And we're also going to find in the article structures that use the passive, because they in this excerpt of article they report something that has been said before, written before, or decided before. So when reporting we use the passive very often. Alright, so let's start from the title. Here we go. Toxic reaction to Japan's Fukushima water dump. So we clearly know that we're talking about the water dumping Fukushima water, and the first word is toxic reaction. So here we have an example of the Anglo-Saxon irony in trying to catch the reader's attention right away from the title. So we use this word toxic that can clearly be referred to the water, but also to the reaction, because people's reaction to this news was really negative. So that's why they describe it as a toxic reaction to Fukushima water dump. Experts insist the release of treated radioactive water is not dangerous. Legal challenges might find otherwise. Here we've got the use of modal verb describing possibility. We're not sure. So legal challenges might find that it's actually dangerous, unlike the Japanese government is saying. So this is the core of the article. We want to find out whether this plan is actually actionable or not. So there are going to be a few references to laws and norms. Alright, but we start discussing this topic with a reference to a documentary. So the article says, the Netflix documentary Seaspiracy caused a stir following its release last month. So it caused a shock and anger, some protests, some complaints after being released last month. For two reasons. Both for highlighting the serious damage human activities are causing the world's oceans, whether for marine debris, so waste in the ocean, or whale hunting. And this is one of the reasons that it caused shock, because we can see what human activity is causing to life in the oceans. The other reason why it caused shock is for the claims that the program features, so includes, misleading statements and statistics. So, some people say that the information, the way it's given in this documentary regarding the sea and human activity in relation to it, so they say that the information, the statistics, might give a wrong idea, might be misleading. But the controversy, so these arguments regarding the documentary Seaspiracy, the controversy pales, so loses significance, fades away, disappears, against the announcement last week by the Japanese government that plans in 2 years, so in the coming 2 years, to release treated radioactive water into the Pacific Ocean. So we start off by talking about controversies that have arisen around this documentary, but these controversies do not stand when we receive such news. Treated radioactive water is going to be released into the Pacific Ocean. The contaminated water has been held in tanks since an earthquake and subsequent tsunami damaged the Fukushima nuclear reactor in 2011. So when we talk about tanks, it means huge containers of liquid. So the contaminated water has been held in those tanks ever since, okay? With storage capacity predicted to run out late next year, so very soon there is going to be no more space for this water, Japan has decided to press ahead, so to move forwards, to put into action these long speculated plans to dump, to release treated wastewater into the sea. So the reason why they're making this decision is because there's no more space to store it. There's no more space for this wastewater to be held. Even though the Japanese government, International Atomic Energy Agency, and some experts have argued that the release of the water is not dangerous, so they have stated this, they have declared it. They have declared it's not dangerous and it will do no harm to the ocean. So do harm is to damage. So basically, nothing bad is going to happen to the ocean. There are good reasons to be concerned about the potential for environmental damage. So still, people are worried. There are good reasons to be concerned, to be worried about the risks. Local Japanese, South Korean and Taiwanese fishing industries have protested the move, as have communities in the Pacific Islands. So local people and fishing industry have already started protesting. China has been scathing, criticizing, with one recent op-ed, so an article of comment, in the state-run China Daily paper, it's a newspaper, declaring Japan cannot use the Pacific as its sewer. So not only local communities and fishing industries are against this move, but also a state-run newspaper in China has declared the fact that they are against this decision in this article. Japan cannot use the Pacific as its sewer. So the sewer is where the wastewater from the houses goes. So the ocean is not Japan's sewer. You cannot use it to dump whatever wastewater you have. The United States has been more understanding in its comments, with Secretary of State Antony Blinken praising Japan for transparent efforts in its decisions. So the United States instead has agreed and thanked Japan for being honest, for its transparent efforts. But Japan may also be challenged under international law, and South Korea has already threatened legal action. So it has already declared, be careful Japan, if you keep on going in this direction, we are going to take legal action, we're going to sue you. So South Korea has threatened legal action under International Dispute Settlement Mechanism. So the international law is going to play a role here. There are 2 international treaties that regulate or prohibit the dumping of wastewater at sea. And then here we name them: United Nations Convention on the Law of the Seas, and the 1996 Protocol to the Convention on the Prevention of Marine Pollution by Dumping of Wastes and Other Matter in 1972, generally referred as the London Convention and Protocol. So here we know that there are two elements of the law that we can refer to when talking about these matters that regulate or prohibit the dumping of wastewater. However, it may even be argued that dumping at sea is allowable under Article 8 of the London Convention and Protocol. So, we have regulations that establish this can't be done, but from a different point of view, those same conventions make it possible for this situation to be considered, for these conditions to be considered valid, so Japan could do it. And we're going to read why. The article of the London Convention stipulates that dumping, so releasing the water, is allowed during an emergency, with the provision that a party shall consult any other country or countries that are likely to be affected. So, as long as the other countries around that might be affected know this is going to happen, in a case of emergency, dumping wastewater in the ocean could be legal. That may explain this transparency of Japan, providing 2 years' notice of its intended action. So, here the journalists are saying that maybe Japan has already told us what they are planning on doing, because they consider this as this warning. So the countries, neighboring countries that can be affected know that this is going to happen. So this way they would not be breaking this the law of this protocol. Yet in this case it is questionable, so we are not sure, it's a doubtful situation. It's questionable whether running out of storage capacity can be considered an emergency. So we don't know if the law considers this lack of space, the fact that they no longer have tanks to hold the water, we don't know if this can be considered a state of emergency. Regardless of how such disputes play out, so no matter how this disagreement is settled, it's also notable that neither those two conventions or protocols have strong sanction mechanisms. So, even if we found out that Japan does not have the right to dump the water, maybe there are no ways to enforce this, so to sanction it, to make sure that this doesn't happen. Neighboring countries, so the countries nearby, have reacted strongly, as have international environmental NGOs, including Greenpeace. So the same strong reaction, we can see it in the countries nearby that we've named earlier, like South Korea, for example, Taiwan, and other Pacific islands. The same strong reaction has been had by environmental NGOs, such as Greenpeace. Boycotts and bans on Japanese fisheries products have already been mooted. So these NGOs and neighboring countries are already considering the possibility of boycotting Japanese fisheries products. Unless another solution is found, Japan's plan will continue to face a mounting tide of opposition. So that's how the article ends. If Japan doesn't find a solution to settle these disagreements, protests will continue. Japan's plan will continue to face a mounting tide of opposition. So more and more people are going to be against this unless a solution is found. So this is the way the article ends. It's not clear from the article whether this plan is actionable or not. Probably there are lots of organizations are working on it, on trying to define whether it's legal or not. We just know that it might happen in 2 years from now, starting 2 years from now. I hope this article was of your interest. I believe that you might have already heard about this piece of news. And that's it. The language in the article was not very easy, but I believe that there were quite a lot of interesting points, and it's always nice to find new synonyms for the words that we already know. So I hope you appreciated this episode of our newspapers Camilla and Caffè, and I'll see you next time. Have a nice day. Bye!